Today we have a very distinct honor and privilege of having with us Mr. Curt Richardson. He is the founder and the chairman of Otter. I'm saying that right, Lorna. Otter Box, Otter Products these days. He's the chief visionary officer, chairman of that company. He's also the co-founder of Blue Ocean Enterprises with his lovely wife, Nancy. But also within the context of us here in the BVI, he's also co-founder and chairman of Forge International. And so, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Mr. Curt Richardson.
Thank you very much, Meet.
Great to have you here with us. Curt, Irma has been a major, significant event in the British Virgin Islands, and it has done many things. And among the things that it's done is created opportunities, and it's also created challenges. You are also, among other things, a property owner and business owner here in the BVI, so you have a BVI perspective. What are some of the challenges that Irma created from where you sit, and what are some of the opportunities that has been created as a result of this natural disaster?
Well, first of all, I think you need to talk about her ugly sister, Maria.
Yes.
Yeah, don't forget about her. Yeah, because she wasn't very kind to us either.
Exactly.
So, wherever there's a void, there's always opportunity. And Irma and Maria certainly created a void. And it's up to the entrepreneur to look for those voids. Many are right in front of us. Some are there that we don't see. We need to learn to listen and hear the ones that people aren't even asking for. And so when I look around at the opportunities, they're immense. I mean, it's anything, you touched on landscape. Just getting cleaned up is a huge deal. For us in the West End, that was the first thing that we started was where do you start, when you've got a 260-ton boat sitting in your driveway? Well, you start with what's right in front of you. Mother Teresa said that, because it's such an immense problem with worldwide. I mean, for her, her answer was start right in front of you. And I think that's the answer for us here in the BVI too. Where do we start? Well, we've got to start right in front of us. The sooner we get cleaned up, it changes the whole psyche of everybody if things are cleaned up. And now we can start to attend and get our creative juices flowing as far as what's next.
Well, that's fantastic. And in Hurricane, what happened is that a lot of businesses that were standing before fell down. And some of them fell down physically. Their property got destroyed, their building got destroyed. Some of them fell down mentally. It just hurt in terms of where they were. And I know we've talked a lot about you going back to the garage, not really failing. But what are some of the lessons and what are some of the advice you would give to those entrepreneurs who fell down as a result of Irma in terms of getting back on their feet again?
I would say sometimes there's beauty in disaster, okay? And I had those disasters in my life, whether it was doing business in Poland, whether it was, I could go on and on about stories around the world of doing business and things not working out and failing. I always say I like to talk about failing forward. If you're going to fail, at least fail forward. And that goes with Irma may have caused failure and she may have ruined your business, but maybe there's other opportunity around you that makes more sense for the day. You may have had a desk job and now you don't have a desk job. Maybe the next job is that landscape job. Maybe it is that paper shredding job, copying job. I mean, there's opportunities there for you to, I would say, exploit, that you need to go after. You need to find those voids and fill those voids. At the same time, not everybody's an entrepreneur. Not everybody has a degree of risk. I love risk. You can ask my wife, drives her crazy, but I like risk. I have people that come to me and go, I want to be an entrepreneur. I go, really? When you go to Vegas, what game do you play? Well, I don't go to Vegas. I don't gamble. Now, I'm not endorsing gambling, but what I'm saying is it sets up a psyche for a person that are you risk adverse. So you better have some cojones to put everything out there on the line. And that's what really being an entrepreneur is. There's different levels of it for sure. Yes. I mean, there's not as much risk in a landscape business at different degrees, right? You can just do gardening, clean up gardening, or you can go buy track hose and dump trucks and start importing plants. That's a whole nother level. But those are the levels we need here now.
Well, when we were over there standing up and Brian mentioned about data mining, you perked up because you see opportunity in it. Just explore that a little bit further for those who may be listening in that area as you see it.
One of the companies we are invested in the U.S. is called Galvanized, and Galvanized is really an incubator. It's much like the Forge, yes. And it pretty much was kind of the model for Forge here. It's a space for entrepreneurs to collaborate, work together. There's so many. It's lonely being an entrepreneur pretty much a lot of times, especially in the startup phase, because you're on your own. But if you're working side by side, you can get a lot. Well, anyway, Galvanized set up classes in data mining. And actually you get a certificate in data mining. Well, today those students, their classes are packed out for months. And those graduates start at around $80,000 to $100,000 in salary. And I was like, wow, that's a pretty good start. And I know people that have left actually school teachers that have jumped ship and gone into data mining, and they actually work for their homes for a company in San Francisco, and they live in Denver. So you don't have to be, the beauty of that, you don't have to be right there on site many times to have a good job. And it also gives you an opportunity to start a business as a contractor mining. Entrepreneurship is a lot like, I call it progressive revelation. Life happens, okay? Irma happens, things happen. Well, our course moves, and we move through that as we see opportunity. And that's what entrepreneurs do.
Fantastic. Well, in this room there, as you said, there's some people that are entrepreneurs and there's some people that are not entrepreneurs, and it's okay. But you are an employer of employees globally, hundreds, thousands of employees. What would you be saying to those people who are in the room or maybe listening later in terms of what they should be doing post-Irma in terms of finding a job and trying to land back on their feet from a jobs perspective? What advice would you give them?
Well, training is the first thing. And I don't know where we are with training in the BVI right now. I know that is a big void. I spoke with the Minister of Education the other day, and I know it's a big void, and I know they're working on it, but you can't work on it fast enough right now. But a lot of it is you're going to have to probably step out from behind the desk and get your hands dirty right now, because we just got to survive, right? It's just about putting food on the table and gas in the tank and rent to the landlord. And that's, some of life is just that, but some great opportunities, I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to do something completely different. Step out there. You don't know, you guys spoke about this, what those opportunities are. And you may go, wow, I really like this. And I think a lot of people discover that. I know a lot of guys that went to college for 8 years, and they're doing something completely different than what they ever went to school for. And a lot of times when we go to school, or when we start down something, here's my regular talk, is we never really ask ourselves, what do we really want, right? And when we get into it, we find out that's not what I really want. Well, it would kind of suck to get to be 60 years old and go, man, I really didn't want to do that. So I would encourage you, the sooner you can, to really explore that within yourself. What do I really want? And I'm not talking financial things. I'm talking heart things, not head things.
Well, that's fantastic, because we were talking about your gift earlier and following your passion. So that falls right in there. And so a question, follow on to that. You're in your business, or you're working in a business, you have this entrepreneurial idea, you want to start out in business. What are some of the things that you would advise so that they get a good foundation in a business that they may want to start? What's a good place to start? What's the foundational things they need to consider?
Well, if you have a job, don't quit your day job. That's what I always tell people. Don't quit your day job. You know, don't just jump off a cliff if you don't know what you're going to hit. So make sure that you get really good clarity as you start to go into where your good idea is. Because I had lots of good ideas. They weren't so good. They didn't really make any money. So you're going to have plenty of failures, but it's those home runs you're looking at. But you need base hits along the way to keep going. So.
Excellent. And a place like Forge, what do you see as the opportunity to get involved in that kind of an ecosystem?
Yeah. Well, one thing that I found very early in my adventures as an entrepreneur was there was a lot of things I didn't know. I didn't understand much of the blocking and tackling of business, the fundamentals. You know, what does a P&L look like? What's a bank going to expect? What's a strategic plan? How do I deliver to my customer? What's supply chain? I mean, it goes on and on. So it's important that you don't have to know everything, but you need to know something of everything, especially as an entrepreneur, in order to really be successful long run.
Fantastic. And in the Forge, you've been involved in the community and in helping with the recovery. Tell us a little bit about that in terms of your involvement in those areas. And then I want to come back to the Forge and some of the things that you've been doing with some of the entrepreneurs that are part of the Forge family.
Sure. Well, within the Forge itself, let's go right to the Forge, yes. Because I think the Forge is exactly what I'm talking about with that blocking and tackling. Those are the classes that are set up. That's the purpose of those classes, is to help give you a foundation so your business will succeed. The more you know, information is power. And the more information and more knowledge you have, the better chance you're going to have of having a good business. And the reason that's so important is because jobs. We need jobs. You know, elections are won on jobs. In the U.S., it's all about jobs. If you're gonna win, you better be creating jobs. And that's key. But that happens. To have the best shot at that, we need to give our entrepreneurs the best shot to hire more people, to grow, to be successful. And I think that's what that's what the Forge is about. That was why we wanted to start the Forge, was to give people the most opportunity, the best opportunity to be successful.
And I know you've been a big part of that. We just had a group of entrepreneurs go up to Fort Collins for Startup Week. Tell us your role, OtterBox's role, and what are some of the things that you were doing with some of those entrepreneurs, and what some of the things that they were doing up in Fort Collins recently.
Well, most of that was, Forge driven. So Forge came up, brought people up. They got to see Otter. They got to see how it runs. Akeem got to work with our engineers, and we ran a new product for him with a 3D printer, so he can now come up with a new product. We're working with Kristen to help promote her new designs, and that's key. But to give her exposure and give people chances where they wouldn't have had those venues, and introduce them to other people that get excited about the BVI, get excited about helping. Now, there's a lot of people in Colorado that get fired up about it. We have a very giving community, and many of our people, our small businesses, are always asking me, what can I do to help? What can we do to help?
Well, fantastic. Well, one of the things I want to do is, not very often does an audience like this get to sit with and ask questions to a global CEO. And so I want to just give the audience an opportunity to ask one or two questions to you before we wrap up. And so, guys, this is your opportunity. Curt is an entrepreneur. He's an employer. He's a global CEO. Are there any questions that you guys might have that you want to ask somebody like Curt as you consider either jobs or getting into business? Is there anyone in the audience?
Yesterday, only yesterday, I'm talking about a real example now. Yesterday, and the kind of thing that Curt does, he didn't really, for modesty reasons, I suppose, get into it. One of the things that I noticed that Curt did, in fact, I was talking to him yesterday about the need for us to clean up the BVI, clean up the mangroves, and so on. And I noticed that, in fact, if you look along West End, starting from Frenchman Street, it's pretty, it's beautiful. And I wanted to connect it with what Marvin talked about. People don't have the time to do it themselves, but let's get people to help us along. And it sort of creates that kind of community feeling and that greater feeling of entrepreneurship within the community. And it's not really a question, but more of a comment. I just wanted to commend you on doing that for the British Virgin Islands. And I say community feeling because I hope that somebody else will take it further beyond West End to come all the way up to BVI Island and do the same thing. How beautiful the BVI would look if we would only continue along what you've started.
Well, thank you. And that comes back to what's right in front of you, right? Is this working? This is working. Okay. Yeah. So the mangroves were wiped out. There was boats in them and trash in them. And we put together a crew down there. We just said, okay, let's start on the West End and work east. Of course, then we went over to Yoast, and we have a little mess over there too. So it was just, let's start. We got with the mangrove expert. They said, listen, those big ones are never coming back. So cut them down and give a nest for the little ones. And it's so great now. The little ones are just starting to come up. And I think in another 6 months, we won't even see the dead stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we have another question right here.
Okay. Except for your passion, what else keeps you going as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think here's part of my problem as well. Okay, is every hobby I have turns into a business, you know. So I like to fish, so suddenly create a fishing business. Well, that isn't always the best thing to do, you know. But what it does do is it does employ others and hopefully gets us together as a community fishing and doing things like that. But so other passions I have, I hunt. I do a lot of hunting in the United States. I'm a sculptor as well, so I'm an artist as well. So I have other passions that aren't always entrepreneurial, but sometimes they turn into a business, which isn't always a good thing.
I can also say that he's a philanthropist.
Yeah.
During and the aftermath of Irma, I spent a lot of time with Curt, and I literally had to force him to go home so that he could get some rest. And so he's very much a philanthropist as well. You get a lot of passion out of that. Yeah. Excellent.
So, you know, a lot of people know Otter as a phone cover. It didn't start out as a phone cover. It started out as a box, a waterproof box for one of my passions, which is the outdoors. I love the outdoors. So I grew up in the mountains. Didn't even have a phone till I was a junior in high school. Didn't even have a bathroom. We had an outhouse till I was a junior in high school. So, you know, I was used to the outdoors, and the outdoors is my passion. It still is my passion today. So but our customers kept coming along going, you know, my PDA, some of you young people may not know what a PDA is, but my PDA gets wet when I open the box, but it fits great in your box. So I came up with a way to use the PDA through the box and have it be waterproof. So this is that progressive revelation thing that begins to happen. And that was our marriage with technology. But along came the BlackBerry before the iPhone, and then along came the iPhone, and then the iPhone 1 and the iPhone 3. Thank God for the iPhone 3. That was a home run. That thing lasted forever. You know, but so today, Otter, you know, one of our things is, how do we go beyond the case? So if you look on our website today, we make coolers. We compete with Yeti. We have outdoor products. So we have a whole outdoor product line where we're going with those products. We also have services now that we're starting to work on. In today's world, people want food delivered to their house. Well, you know, a head of lettuce doesn't do very well sitting on your front porch while you're at work. So looking at delivery systems for that, working with people like Amazon, Walmart, Jet.com, people like that to deliver products. Again, there's a void. How do we fill that void? How do you look for the void and fill it with a product or a service? And we've always been a product company, but sometimes you got to combine the two. For a long time, I was just a tool and die maker, injection mold maker. Well, really, in reality, I'm no different than a gas station, right? I'm selling my time. And that's what a lot of people have to think about. If you're in the service industry, if you're a contractor, what are the systems you have to wrap around doing that well? And that's where the Forge comes in. It teaches you how to do that. Otherwise, you end up working for free. So really think about, the one thing that hit me a long time ago was systems run the business, but people run the systems. And that was a hard concept for me to grasp, but when I grasped it, it made all the difference in how I did business.
Fantastic. One more question. Anyone? Yes, I came at the bottom, at the back.
As a young business owner, I have a question for you, Curt. What steps did you take with protecting your brand and your business as it began to grow and looking to expand and export?
Fantastic question.
That is a good question, and I think, honestly, okay, here's a guy who's going to tell you, don't worry about it too much, but I have 700 patents, okay? So we have more patents in the technology space than Apple. So I would tell you not to focus on that, Akeem. If you're always focused on your competition, if you're always have a protectionist mentality, you will never get ahead. Look forward, not behind you. Do the right things by getting educated in business and systems and processes, and guess what? The right things will happen. But make sure you understand what the right things are for you and your business, but make sure you're doing those, and you don't have to worry about competition. I'll give you a quick story. The CEO that I fired 3 years ago for Otter, that was his biggest stumbling block. All he did was worry about our competition that all had 5 and 8 and 9%, while we're sitting there with 45% of the market. I'm going, well, focus on doing the right stuff. Quit worrying about competition. But some people just can't, they're playing defense all the time. Well, defense wins Super Bowls, but it is boring. It can be boring, And another sports analogy is hockey. Gretzky, the greatest player of all time, always went to where the puck was gonna be. So many of us are chasing the puck, and by the time we get there, and I'm talking about me because I'm a crappy hockey player, when you're chasing the puck all the time, you're not going to where it's gonna be. You're not gonna be successful. But that's what entrepreneurs do, right? They look again where there's voids, where there's things missing, and they go to where that is. So I'd encourage you to always be looking for those voids, looking to where the market's going, looking to where the needs are going to be. Today, honestly, with Irma here, there's so much opportunity. I mean, man, I'm going, wow. It's all over the place. So.
Fantastic. And I just want to end. I know you're a visionary first. And so as you sit in the BVI now, what's your vision for this place? What do you see visionary-wise? And what are some of the big 2-3 steps you believe that we should be making as a territory in terms of achieving the vision forward?
Well, Akeem touched on some of it. We have to have outside help, guys. We're not going to get out of this on our own. We can work hard, but it's going to be a long haul. We've got to make BVI business friendly. And that's going to be different. It's going to be different, but it's time for some different. And we need to be able to have you know, I look at Beef Island and I go, why don't we have a Four Seasons over there? I was just in Kauai, and I didn't come to the BVI because my home is destroyed. So we went to Kauai. And it's like, wow, why don't we have this there? We can have that there. But we have to be open to that. And we have to realize that when something like that happens, it spurs all other kinds of business and many opportunities. So the more we're open to that and we start to open ourselves up to that. Now I know that goes against the culture in many ways, but we've got to start to look, and we've got to be entrepreneurial as a nation. And I think that that's key. I mean, I think we are on a very grassroots basis, but we've got to get up a little higher and look at what's the long term, what's the vision? What's the vision for the BVI? What does it look like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like? What's it feel like when people come here, whether they're an investor or a tourist? You know, we have resources. Our resource, I look out the window and there's the resource. It's beautiful. You got to squint a little right now, but it's beautiful. You know, but I love the BVI. It's our home. Nancy and I love it here. We love the people. We love the nation. We just, there's so much to love about it. So we would love to participate in the vision and be part of the vision, but I think the BVI's got to start to be open to bringing in others and really making it something way beyond what it is.
Ladies and gentlemen, Curt Richardson, come on, give him a round of applause. Thank you very much for your contribution today.